How is Timmy so good? I've analyzed over 100 hours of iitztimmy footage to learn his secret, and today I'm going to share that with you. I'm also going to reveal one of his key secrets at the very end. But first, I'm sure you guys need no introduction for today's sponsor, Raid Shadow Legends. With over 380 million active users, more than 600 champions and constant updates, there's always something new and fun to do. With Raid's 3rd year anniversary being celebrated, I thought I would pitch in and tell you a couple reasons why Raid is so good. The graphics in Raid are visually stunning and nothing but impressive for a game that you can just play on your phone. Sometimes it seriously looks like you're playing a AAA game on your home console. The vast character selection there is to choose from, making it feel like there's basically endless team variations to use, all with their own unique different abilities. The amount of love and care the developers put into this game, constantly updating, adding new content and doing cool things like events for the community. It really shows how dedicated they are towards their game. On another note, the update that came out this month is huge. They just released a brand new faction called the Sylvan Watchers with some amazing new champions: Forest Elves, Ents, Druids, and Fae. Raid also has a full lineup of brand new action-packed events, along with a new season of the Forge Pass where you can score some of the most powerful gear in the game. And as a little bonus for Amazon or Twitch Prime users, right now you can claim exclusive rewards for free. And there's more. New players who use my link in the description or the pinned comment or scan the QR code on the screen will get a free starter pack worth almost $30. That includes a free champion called Aina and all this cool in-game loot. You can find the rewards here in your inbox for the next 30 days. All right, so obviously he wants to drop hot in any game because he wants to, get a lot of kills, get a lot of damage. It's just the way to go. If it's fragment, if it's anywhere else, that's just the way you should do it. Does some good zipline jumps. He abuses hipfire range. That's a big thing I want you guys to look out for. Every fight that Timmy gets into that's close enough, I think it's like 5 to 10 meters. He actually does this way more than I would normally. Again, it's in hip fire range, meaning that if he hip fires, he'll hit a pretty solid beam. So we'll see just how much he does that. Oh. So this is, again, that's about 5 to 10 meters. Because if it ADSs, he stands still, it becomes much easier to hit, and it's just not a good idea. He doesn't do that many zipline hops, as you can tell here, but overall, feels a bit clunky right now. I'm sure I'll pick up in a little bit, because we know he has some crazy fast movement. Oh, there's the wall hop. That's cool. I love to see it. Is this like one of his long stream games? He looks really tired here. I actually don't know the context behind this, other than it's 28 kills, so it's gonna be a treat to watch. So he ADSs here. Normally that he could hipfire here, but it's a little bit more accurate. There's the hipfire again. Does a little bit of strafing. A bit slower on the strafing side this game. This VOD is about, I think it's 7 months old. It's not a very recent video. The next one we'll be watching is a little bit more recent, but you can still see the same playstyle all over the place. It goes for a hot swap here, as does any content creator at this point. Goes for the 2x spot line, hits with solid shots, gets the beam. The thing is, when Timmy, look how he approaches this fight. So when he knows someone is coming, he waits for them. He doesn't peek. He tries to isolate the 1v1, and then he's gonna take a peek, and he's gonna force that fight, the 1v1. Ideally fight them on the way in. When they round that corner, when they climb up, when they're not paying attention to him, or when they're unable to fight, he does a wide swing, he reveals himself, and he tries to go for the beam. He also does obviously like tap strafing, movement, and all that fun stuff, and he just takes some ramparts. Alright, love to see it. Smart to get the finish here, get the damage, get the KP. As I've covered in another video, I feel like something Timmy does a lot. I don't know if it's intentional or not. It's it's safe to assume it's intentional. He does make decisions that will get him more damage, so he's gonna shoot a down enemy. He didn't finish them here. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but he doesn't finish them, or sorry, he shoots them when they're down because he gets extra damage points on that, which is cool. Also, he has a tendency to go for the target switches, in one spray. I don't know if that's... There's like some... You could argue it's somewhat valuable. Some would argue that it's safer to go for a safer... you slow it down a little bit and you go for like the finishing shots rather than just spamming target switch. So you could argue that, okay, it's for the clips, right? Hard to say for me, but we have seen a lot of examples of Timmy just trying to look like he's cheating, and it's funny because it works. A lot of people still think he is cheating, as we covered in the our big stream is cheating video. We did cover one or a few of his clips like that. Some hipfire shots with the PK makes sense. Good. Oh, he's got it. I think he's gonna tap strafe here, probably, right? He can just take the zipline up as well. Let's see what he does. But before I did this video, by the way, I have watched like, so obviously I've watched a lot of content as with the title. Yeah, there's a tap strafe, but he's like, I watched it in 2x speed, so the game feels super slow to me because I get like used to the 2x speed on Apex. So this is smart. He's probably looking for an entry. The second he gets the entry, he's gonna throw his jump pad down and go in. I assume. I haven't, like I said, I did watch some content beforehand, but I have not watched his videos. So, all right, these are just Timmy things, Timmy mannerisms. You see, he was waiting for perfect timing to go in. Now goes in, steals the kill, and then he just keeps holding W. Very typical Timmy. You have one Timmy that's a conservative smart Timmy, and you have one that's like the aggressive Timmy. It's like a 50-50, like a bipolar thing, almost. It really depends on the situation he's in. If he feels he has space, if he feels confident, you can kind of see it in his aim, you can see it in his movement. He wide swings, takes very greedy peeks, disrespects his enemies. And the funny thing with disrespecting an enemy is, like, confidence is almost like a currency. So if an enemy isn't feeling confident, you can push that, and you can do something really crazy, and because they're not feeling confident in their abilities, they're gonna start whiffing the shots. It's gonna start missing. So if you jump into someone's face and just do something absolutely crazy, they'll panic, and you can abuse that. And that is one of the few things that Timmy has mastered. We have covered that on this channel before, but it's still relevant. It's still completely relevant. Dude, I had such a good idea. What if we make, because I've seen Timmy has uploaded full videos, like hour-long, like just his best games and stuff. Like, what if we either make like a best games compilation, or we just, maybe we can react to his most viewed videos. That could be cool as well. Just let me know what you guys think in the comments. It'd be cool to know. Either way, he's just looking for an opening here, I guess, to abuse. He's playing weird in this lobby, not gonna lie. Plays the angles very well here. Takes the 1v1 because Jibby just randomly ran away. I feel like he would have approached it differently if Jibby did end up shooting him. That is something we'll mention later on, but I'll briefly touch on it. He does, and I do this myself, and I've noticed a few of the content creators, especially pub ones, pub stomper ones, and like no fillers, they have learned that you need to work with the focus of the enemy a lot. You need to adapt to what they do. So one of the things he does is what I like to call juggling focus, where he doesn't lets the team focus him. So the second he notices that it's too hot of a situation, he backs out. You know, he might just go back from his peak. Like, he peeks out, shoots a few shots, and if the enemy team responds, he goes back into cover, switches up his angle. I pointed out ASU does something like that as well. It's, again, very common. And it works very well because most players seem to have, what's the word? Objective permanence. So basically, or they lack object permanence. So if something disappears, it doesn't exist in their mind, I guess. Works very well. But especially like in the middle of a fight, if you're like in a fight, you take a lot of damage, you're gonna shoot at the first thing you see. It works even more effectively when you have teammates that are alive. But obviously, it works as a solo queue player as well. And he does that a lot. So I'm gonna try to point that out when I see it. And one thing he does very well is his great spray control. Like, that's not really like a trick you can pick up, except like, oh yeah, go into the fire range and practice with it. I don't think he does much jitter aiming. He just kind of knows how to pull, you know, pull down and to the side. He does use the flatline here. He does use the R301 a lot. He does use the... We've seen some wingman, but like, honestly, it doesn't seem like that's his go-to gun. Usually a weapon like the flatline or the 301 with a 2x, maybe 3x, are more common. Because it allows him to get more consistent damage and just more damage. Obviously, in his world record game, he ran a Spitfire, but that was meta at the time. And it's actually a better example as well of what I'm saying, because like he wants like a consistent medium time to kill weapon, not like an R99 or a car as a primary generally, because a car or R99, they have about a 200 damage per second, and you're just gonna one-clip people with it. He doesn't want to one-clip people, he wants to do a lot of damage on them. If he hits a big chunk of damage on someone and they heal up, he can do more damage, he can farm more damage, because he wants 10k damage. Who doesn't want 10k damage? You guys know that some of his most popular videos are about him getting a lot of damage. It's definitely a focus to him. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing to call out, but definitely a focus, as you can tell. Also, something he does do a lot, I think it's more common on Octane, but I've seen it on Pathfinder as well, is what he just did there, the little crouch hop peek. In that case, that was to reset a little bit, but he uses his technique a lot. I actually don't remember how old this video was. This was actually over a year ago. Yeah, you can definitely tell. Because he has improved a lot since this, actually. Oh, triple tick was in the care package. That was a while ago. So now it's 3v3. He jumped up there into good off angle. He's just kind of trying to work the angles, work the space and openings he gets. Is he gonna try to kill farm maybe? We'll have to see. This might have been before he was trying to go for a lot of damage, honestly, because it's like not super damage focused, other than finishing his knocks, but that doesn't have to mean much. Going for the trick shots and the extra jump pad for even more trick shots. You can do it. You can do it to me. There's a hip fire right there as I called out. You could argue that's pretty far away, but it's still within range. And again, it makes you much of a harder target to hit. And here again, he's a fadeaway. The second he... he's playing with him. But the second the Wraith gets to start shooting, he instantly switches it up, moves around. Now this is a 1v1, I think. So he doesn't have to play like this, but see what happens. So he maybe he's playing for the win here, actually, now we think about it. Because what you see is he ended up taking a position. He's gonna pull this way. So he wants to like ensure, either he wants to ensure the win here and get the kill, or he wants to farm the Wraith for damage. We'll have to see. He doesn't use the anvils for whatever reason, which is interesting. I'm sure he has his reason. Oh, there they are. There we go. Yeah, because if poking was his goal, this would be it. But I do think he wanted to get the kill there. I don't think he wanted to stall her. But if he wanted to kill her, he would have all in here. He's just playing with her. He's just playing with her, man. There's no way. Okay, no. He's both playing with her and maybe he's farming damage a little bit. What is happening? Because, again, at any second, he could just drop down on the Wraith and finish her. But he keeps cracking her and letting her heal up, and then cracking her and letting her heal up. That lets him go. He had like 5k damage at the start of this fight. Now he's on 6.5. They get the impressive numbers. And then, oh, look at, same thing again. He got the 140 damage, and then he's let her be. Takes the high ground again, so he can keep controlling the fight. There's another crack. Lets her take the portal. I think he probably would have wanted to go for a respawn farm here. His teammates, Revenant and the random Random Revenant and a random Valkyrie are probably watching this, losing their minds. Why is this TTVer not trying, man? Is he even giving him the heals? Okay, well, that's Blade.
Enough of this bullying.
Alright, there you go. He's done with it. Well, it did run out of flyline ammo, so that makes sense why he would do that. There you go. He's just trying to milk it. I don't know how finisher counts for damage, honestly. So that's a really good example of how Timmy stalls out games and fights to get the most damage out of like those games. We had some smaller things, positioning, movement, and the way he approaches fights. But these last few minutes were like, again, a perfect example how he does to farm high damage games. I'd argue high kill games, but honestly, it's hard to say. He just got 28 kills without much kill farming, so it's hard to say there. He just popped off. Something Timmy does do a lot, and you don't really see it too much. I think they're cutting most of it out, and you'll see it more in his later videos. So sadly, the two I picked here may not have been the best examples so far. But something Timmy does do a lot as well is he does check his inventory. He keeps pulling up the inventory and peeking it. It's either to check his like heals, check his ammo, or whatever. I can relate to that. My brain is all over the place, and I always forget like what I have. Oh, there it is again. Like, he just pulls up the inventory, takes a look, okay, like, what do I have? He was thinking about grenades there, probably. Oh, poor Wraith. And, but he didn't know what he had, so I had to check. Here's another example of what I mentioned earlier. He pre-aims the angle he thinks they're gonna come from. That was interesting that he EDS there with the Mastiff, probably because it is the Mastiff. Gets a tight spread. Oh! And here's a very small thing I haven't mentioned yet. I didn't know he would actually did this like a year ago. So, as I mentioned, Timmy abuses hipfire range. I mentioned at the very start of the video, he wants to separate himself about 5 to 10 meters away or however far away it is. Also, why does he have a 2x and R9? I don't know. But he tries to keep himself at that distance. And what he does on top of that, so he does it to abuse the hip fire, obviously. But when he does this, I've noticed that Timmy also goes in and out of ADS. So he aims on sights, hip fires, and just switches back and forth as he's shooting. And I can't figure out exactly why he does it, but one can assume it's because it makes it very difficult to shoot. If you are strafing to the left and to the right, and you keep holding ADS, you're very easy to track. If you keep hip firing, you're low-key easy to track. But if you zoom in, zoom out, and keep spamming that as you continue shooting an enemy on hip fire range, you will be very unpredictable to hit. Something he also does is that he... Obviously, he has a great recoil control. Let's go. That's something I noticed too with Timmy, and I'm not exactly sure why. But whenever I watched a Timmy video, like, he has way different games than the ones I run into. Like, I don't know if people are stream sniping, I don't know if he plays anonymous mode, but you can definitely tell that the lobbies, they do zerg him a lot. And, you know, it makes sense. It's very easy to stream snipe people in these types of lobbies. But yeah, obviously you have to keep that in mind. I don't think these are, I know people have said these are bot lobbies. I've seen a lot of comments about it. I don't think it's something he does intentionally. I don't think there's any, I don't even think they are by definition bot lobbies. It's just that people are going for him. And all he has to do is just stay alive in one position and everyone will zerg him. Like, normally I don't find a lot of people fighting here, but he's already run into 3 squads on top of each other. Like, that just doesn't happen. So here's another thing. So he knows that big guy has to come. He has to come from the right, he has to come from the left. All he does is just hold that angle and he just had to wait. So he swings with his teammate here, very smart. And then you have to do that as well, because he plays Pathfinder. And when you play Pathfinder, you have a large hitbox. You have to be very careful with how you peek and how you move, because you're very large and very easy to shoot with a very punishing hitbox. Another team, okay. It's a typical, okay, here. Let's dissect this. So literally, he does commit to this a little bit, but he basically zipped, took an off angle, went for the spray. He did exactly what I said. He swapped ADS and hip fire with his bloodline, and then he dropped down. Because he was always ready to drop down. The second he took too much heat, he jumped off the high ground, just one step away, so he doesn't get beamed. Here's another perfect angle just like that. He went for a quick fadeaway shot on the top. He drops down, there's another rampart. He trades, but then he instantly dives back into cover. He tries to play close to cover. Now he does ego peek him and take a 1v1 chow here again. I guess he feels that he can't get away with it. But the principle remains the same. I'm just saying. Here's another big flank. He going for it. Does try to limit the angles that he exposes himself to, but he does end up jumping into 3 people, and he does end up dying for it. But it's overall a pretty good play, incorporating that smarter play. Now to get third party for it, I don't think it's a good idea to get knocked when the whole server wants to kill you at all times, but okay, this is a small thing. I think I mentioned it, but I'm gonna mention it again. This is a small movement technique he does. Here, he bunny hops. We've covered how to do it in many videos, but this makes it very hard for him to beam him, and it's much harder to hit someone bunny hopping left and right like that than someone just jumping, you know, tap strafing or just jumping around the corner or running around the corner. It doesn't clear the corner as fast, I think, but it does make it that much harder to hit that it's worth it. It's a bit of a trade-off. He has to make that conscious or to a certain degree unconscious decision whether that's worth it or not. Now he goes straight into the 1v2 here because he can sense that, oh yeah, I can get away with it, which was a bad read because he does take a lot of damage for it. Manages to get away thanks to him being Pathfinder, funnily enough. So again, he doesn't have a Kraber this game, I think, but it's pretty much a few things he does with the Kraber is he goes for the trick shots with it, and he just goes with the Kraber. He does apply the same pre-aiming strategy, especially if he wants to hit the headshots. Something he does as well is he uses a source technique where basically, I think it's called stutter stepping. You correct me if I'm wrong. I'm a boomer. I don't remember exactly what the technique is called. It's very common in Counter-Strike. You should do it for like the AK. I guess it works in Valorant as well, where if you stand completely still, you will have a 100% first shot accuracy. So what these people do, so this is not just him, I think Mandy does the same. I'd have to watch Mandy, maybe that'll be another video. What they do is they do the stutter step. So they do a wide, they walk all the way to the right, and then they stop themselves with a left strafe which for a short period of time means that they have zero movement. If they just stop altogether, they're still gonna slide, right? Like if you move forward and then stop, you have like a bit of a slide. There's a little bit of a wait before you can shoot and get that accuracy. So what they do is they go for the strafe and then counter strafe, and as soon as they counter strafe, they hit, they shoot, and that will give them 100% accuracy. And that seems to work, especially if you combine it with a crouch, almost always as far as hip fires go. So as we're nearing the end of the video, let me explain again what the number one thing I think that Timmy does that you guys can learn. And it's the target juggling. Now this is just a cool one clip, so there's not a lot to learn here. But this very end of this video is a perfect example of target juggling. And I think this is something that you can bring home, you can bring it to any game, and you'll learn from it. And it mixes in a lot of the things we've covered in this video, including how enemies don't have object permanence and whatever, the kindergartners. And one massive thing being, okay, he's shooting this Pathfinder, gets, oh, he doesn't get the finish. And let me just, that happened so fast you might not have noticed it. So he shoots, he drops on Pathfinder, shoots him, gets a lot of damage to him, tries to go for the finish. There's a freaking rampart there beaming at him with the shield. So what he does is he ducks into cover. But he doesn't duck into cover and keep hiding. He just ducks into cover and then immediately peeks right back out. But in that small moment that he went into cover, the rampart is like, well, I'm shooting, but he's hiding. So now I'm gonna look at his teammates that are to his left. So then he peeks right back out. Rampart isn't even looking at him anymore, and he just gets an easy one clip. Which is what I like to call target juggling. And that makes any enemy look extremely newbie, because people are like, oh, they're not shooting back. Yeah, well, that's because you're abusing their focus. They're not shooting back because you don't let them. If you know when people are going to shoot back, that's something he does amazingly, is if you know when people will shoot back, you don't peek them when they will shoot back. You wait until they look away. You wait until they run towards you. You force them to make decisions that leaves them vulnerable for you to peek them and deal like one clip or whatever. Again, this is something you have to learn if you play a legend like Pathfinder, because you need to know when to do a full all in. You need to know, you have to take your hitbox in account. You're massive, and you can very easily get one clip if you don't pay attention. And that's another very good, that was just a very good play, but he even closed the door afterwards to make sure that they wouldn't kill him. Anyways, that was just a quick summary of what I've learned from all the Timmy videos that I've watched. If you guys agree or enjoy the video, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe, and maybe check out Timmy. I'm sure he needs some subscribers as well. Anyways, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all tomorrow.